everybody, it's Allison, stlprostretch.com, and today we're going to change things up a bit, and I'm going to teach kind of a more flowy class like I would probably do. I used to teach a deep stretch class live, and we combine a lot of yoga and resistance stretching together, and it's kind of nice. I've been focusing mostly on resistance stretching lately, but today we're going to mix things up a little bit. So sorry if you don't like it. You'll just have to go back to my other videos. But let's start. And we're going to start with the butterfly position. And normally in yoga we would just sit here and try to, open the inner thigh and like pull everything forward, pull the chest forward. But in the thought of resistance stretching, we will change this to the groin stretch. So we are going to be bringing the knees together and pushing the arms open at the same time. Knees are always pulling together. Arms are always pulling open. Together is strength. Open is stretch. Don't worry if you can't get your knees down to the floor. That's not the goal. The goal here is just to kind of warm up the groin a little bit. Maybe strengthen those muscles. Maybe you are getting a huge stretch out of this. But also, if you relax your shoulders and let your traps, your upper back, stretch as you bring your knees together, it's kind of a dual stretch, upper and lower body. As you can see, my palms are up, my elbows are at my knees. I like to do the palms up just to try to get a little more external rotation of the arms. We'll do a couple more of these. And then we are going to take the right leg and put it in front. The left is going to spin, so my knee is right at my arch of my right leg. My left knee is at my right arch. And then I'm going to take my right hand behind me. And I'm going to lift my hips. I'm kind of gently pushing my left foot into the floor. As I lift, I'm pulling my tailbone under, and I'm going to reach up with my left arm and almost side bend to the right as I lift and release. So this is kind of the whole line all the way down through the leg. And if you're side bending, you're going to get a little bit of quadratus lumborum as well, just as it's more of a fascial stretch than anything else. I'm even feeling my lat here a little bit stretch. So just some dynamic stretching. And then we're going to park it here. This may depend on your spine, how far you can go. I usually don't take it too far. I'm going to pull my ribs away from my hips, and I'm going to imagine my legs are just stuck in a vat of concrete right now. So I'm going to walk my hands away and start to twist and pull my ribs away from my hips. You can go as far as you want. And then I'm going to come back around and we'll do the other side. So knee meets arch. Again, I'm a slight push with the right foot into the mat. And take my left hand behind me and lift the hips. And then I'm going to pull my tailbone under, belly in and up, and reach up and over with my right arm. And release. It really is, this is less of a resistance stretch, but I am getting a little bit of a resistance stretch because I'm pushing my foot into the mat. So a little bit of quad here. And just, dynamic stretching, which is stretching with movement, which is a great way to warm up, by the way. If you want to add breath work to this, you would inhale as you bring your arm up and over, and exhale as you lower your hips. And then again, I'm going to take this into a twist. You don't have to do this part. And maybe this is your twist. That's it. But imagine my legs are really heavy. I'm walking away, and I'm going to pull my ribs up and out of my hips. And this side's a little more difficult for me because of the tightness I have in my left low back. But just work within your own range of motion. If this is hurting you, please stop doing it. If anything's hurting you today, please stop doing it. And then back it up, back around. And then we're going to spin up. If you want to, you can put a pillow or a towel or, something under your knees. I'm not going to for this one, but you could. And I'm going to come up on my knees and stretch my left leg out to the side. If your toes are mostly pointing forward, this is going to be more of an adductor stretch. If your toes are out, it's going to be more of a medial hamstring stretch. So whichever you might want to change it up. Do a few one direction, do a few the other direction. And I'm just going to put my hands behind my head. I'm going to interlace my fingers and imagine my fingers pulling apart. So here I am. I've got my hands behind my head. I'm imagining them pulling apart. I'm going to push gently with my left foot into the mat and then lean over. Try not to stick my butt out. So try to keep the tailbone neutral as you lean, and then back up again. And we'll do a few of these. And then we'll lean over to the other side. So I'm slowly moving so that my core is working on the way down. And I'm going to stretch my left arm up and over. And then bring it back up and go to the other side, right arm up and over. Inhale up and exhale over. Inhale up and exhale over. We're going to do one more, and I'm going to lean. You can just leave it here and maybe let your left arm drift back a little bit, trying to spin your chest up toward the ceiling. That's going to get into some of these abdominal muscles here. Or, if you're flexible enough and you can do this, lift your leg, grab your foot behind you. Sometimes you have to kind of finagle your way in there by bringing your knee up to your chest. Push your foot into your hand. And I am going to kind of kick back, and then as I'm kicking back, I'm going to slowly let the heel come back toward my glute. So if you look at it this way, I'm kind of going like this. So I'm pushing and pulling with my arm and my leg. This is a really nice quad warm-up. It is an intense stretch for the quad, I would say. And also because I'm in this position with my right leg out to the side, it's getting into some of this area, the fascia in the area through the front of the hip as well. And then we'll switch sides. So again, I started with my hands behind my head. Interlace your fingers. You might want to put the other finger in front this time. And then pull my fingers apart. I'm pushing my right foot into the mat. I'm trying not to stick my butt out and leaning. And up again. Leaning and up. Again, the right toes can be forward, they can be a little bit out. Whatever is comfortable for you, wherever you're feeling the most stretch. Just try to feel that out, decide what's best for you. This is making me miss my yoga deep stretching class days. And then we'll lean over to the other side. So I'm going to lean slowly so that my core is working, leaning, reaching up and over. Again, make sure that tailbone's not sticking out. You're going to lose a lot of the stretch here as you come over, and then slowly up and back over to the other side. If you're breathing, it's inhale up, exhale over, inhale up, and exhale over. Do a couple more. I have not been counting. I'm the world's worst counter, but I try to keep it somewhat balanced. And I try to remember to do the things that I did on one side on the other side, but sometimes I forget. And then we're up and over. And for those of you who just want to stay here, You can. You can kind of stretch it over or let the right arm drift behind you, kind of lift the chest up a little bit. And as I'm lifting my chest, I am feeling a stretch through here, the iliacus psoas area and also my abdominals. So I've got a lot of stretching going on right there. Or lift your leg, grab your foot, push the foot into the hand to bring it back, and then slowly let the arm win and bring the heel toward the glute. If you need to use a strap for that, this is fine. I know in class some people can't always grab their foot, and then it takes them the whole time to get the strap around the foot. But you don't have to grab your foot. You know, you can just sit this part out. That's perfectly fine. All right. And then we'll come back up. And we're going to do a downward dog stretch. So we've done this before many, many times. Start on your hands and knees. It doesn't have to be a perfect downward dog. You know, I'm not going to require that your back is completely straight because we want to get the calves stretched. So, you know, starting here in this, like, I'm going to jump forward type position, push your hips back, and then try to unfold your legs. If they don't unfold all the way, that's fine. And then lift your heels, shift forward, shift back, and slowly lower the heels. Lift, shift forward, and slowly lower down. If you would like more stretch, as you slowly lower down, tilt the tailbone up, press the chest back toward the thighs, and lift your toes. Lifting the toes often gives you quite a bit more stretch, but doing all three of those things together to maximize this stretch. And next we are going to do, so in yoga we have a thing called upward dog. An upward dog is basically the opposite of downward dog. We're bringing the chest through the arms and lowering the hips down. But I don't want to throw anybody's back out, so I thought we'd start doing this in a lower position on the knees, and maybe even on your elbows would be nice to do. So what I'd like you to do is shift your hips forward. You're doing a strong pull in of the belly and the abdominals. I want you to imagine a posterior tilt. So I want to get the tailbone under and the abdominals are pulling in as I shift forward. And then I'm going to start to draw the chest forward into this stretch. I know it might not feel like a stretch, but as we move, and if you can do it this way, then probably you can do it with your hands up. Takes a little bit more concentration, keeping the tailbone under and the belly in, and then start to draw the chest through. But don't go so far that your lower back feels the pinching. We don't want to go there. Now, if you're up for the whole downward dog thing, I'm going to turn and face you so you can see what I'm doing. Well, let's start this way first. So I'm downward dog. I'm going to shift forward into a full plank and then pull my chest through. Strong abdominal contraction in and up. Pull my chest through. Now, actually I've heard of this movement from Kemetic yoga, but I've never actually done Kemetic yoga, so I can't say. But I've heard this is one of the movements. What we like to do sometimes with resistance stretching is to get into the psoas a little bit more, or at least warm it up. I'm going to add a little tilt to my hips. So I'm up, I'm coming forward, and I'm going to drop my left hip toward the mat, and then I'm going to come back up again and drop the right hip toward the mat and come up again. Okay, it's time to move on Um, you might want to get your pillow out because we're going to be doing the hip flexor stretch. So we're in downward dog. We're going to lift the right leg behind you. That should be a huge stretch for the left calf, by the way, so enjoy that. You can lift and lower a few times if you like. And then I'm going to bring my knee in toward my nose. Bring it back again. See if maybe you can lift this right hip up a little bit and get into that front of the right side fascia line by bending the right knee. And then you can kind of try to straighten it out. Almost like I'm pushing my foot toward the opposite corner of the room. And then I'm going to step my foot through, drop my left knee, and we'll go into the hip flexor stretch. If you've watched my videos, you know this well. Imagine your back knee pulling up toward your chest. We want to keep the posterior pelvic tilt, so imagine you're putting on the tightest pair of jeans you have, struggling to zip them up, and the tailbone goes under. That'll naturally create that contraction anyway that we want. So belly in, tailbone under, and then shift forward and back. Now, the thought is you only should be moving about 2 or 3 inches forward because that's really about as far as the psoas stretches. After that, you start to begin to curve, the butt sticks out and the belly comes forward, but I feel like I can feel a really good stretch doing it both ways. So maybe not the psoas, but the upper part of my quad. So there's that. And then we are going to take this into a turn. We're contracting the whole time, remember. And I'm going to grab my block, a block. You could use a box or any number of things, and put it on the outside of my foot. I'm going to bring my left foot in a little bit. I'm going to pull my inner thighs together. I'm going to turn my hips to the left. I'm keeping my tailbone under and my belly in. That's a lot to think about, I know. Inner thighs pulling together, belly in, shift forward and back. And for me, this is a huge iliacus stretch. And then we'll do that a few times. And then I'm going to lean and put my hand on the block and stretch up and over with my left arm. Huge stretch. And you can come in and out of this as well. I can feel my right hamstrings working quite a bit because I'm pulling my heel back toward me. So by scissoring my inner thighs together, those hamstrings are working as well. And then we will come back to the downward dog. And I'm going to turn around so you can see what I'm doing. So I got my block over here. I'm popping up to downward dog. This time I'm going to lift the left leg up. And we're going to lift and lower the right heel a few times. I don't know, I think I definitely carry a lot of tension in my calves. They're always tight. I find that a lot of people have tight calves. It's a rare person that does not have tight calves, in my opinion. And then we'll lift the leg behind and draw your knee toward your nose as you come forward. And then stretch it back. And I'm going to start to lift the left hip up. So I'm turning my hips to the side, and I'm just going to let this foot drop, and then I'm going to push it out away. So the leg is a weight. The psoas is lengthening. This is almost a little bit like shearing, except we're not applying pressure to the psoas. We're just trying to lengthen it a little bit. And then step forward with your left foot in between your hands. Scissor your legs together. So imagine this back knee pulling in toward your chest. That will cause your front foot to want to pull back. That's what we want. Belly in, tailbone under, and shift forward and back. This is one of those rare moments that I don't have anything to say. And then we're going to take this hip flexor stretch into more of a side position. So you're going to bring your right foot in, scissor your inner thighs together, hips turn to the right. I'm pulling my inner thighs together. I'm doing the opposite of sticking my butt out, belly in, shifting and leaning. You can do a few just shifts first, if that feels good to you. And then we can bring our block over, put it behind the foot, and stretch up and over. I'm really trying to pull the tailbone under and turn my hips as I'm doing this, just to maximize this stretch. It's a really nice stretch. And for those of you yogis who are missing out on this stretch, and I've mentioned this before, there's a pose called side angle, where our legs are like this, and we are leaning. You just kind of do pulling the inner thighs together, belly in, turning the hips as much as possible, knee stays open, lean, and reach. And then stretch out through that right heel. That's your side angle, and you should be getting some of that stretch right there. Okay, moving on, since we're up. Well, I am. You could come up. And we'll move on to some hamstring stretching. I'm going to take a rolled up towel. I think my head's going to get cut off on this one, but that's all right. You can use a rolled up towel. You don't need to use anything at all. Then I'm going to put my block like that, just to add a little bit more calf stretch. Because if you've checked out my calf stretching videos, you know I really love calf stretching. So anytime I can add a little more calf, that's great. I'm going to put my foot on the block. I am pushing with the ball of my foot, so imagine I'm driving and I want that gas pedal to go. I have to go somewhere in a hurry, so press on it the whole time you're doing this. My back foot is behind me. It's turned mostly, but not completely around. So it's turned in a little bit, but not a lot. I want to try to get it as straight as I can. I'm pushing into this block. I'm going to puff my chest out as much as I can into a back bend, and then come forward until I feel a stretch and come back. This would, I think, be a central hamstring stretch, resistance stretch. Woo! Good stretch. And then I'm going to switch sides. You can do more if you want. So I've got my left foot, ball of the foot on the block, or on the towel, or on the floor, whichever you prefer. Other foot is back. So I don't want my back foot to be turned out, because I don't want my hips to turn that way, but I want to turn it in enough. You may have to step it out to the right just a little bit. And you could use a chair for balance. So I've got pushing my foot into the block, the ball of my foot. I'm going to puff my chest out, make a little back bend. And as I'm pushing into the block, I'm going to come forward till I feel a stretch, and then I'm going to push out of it. I'm kind of feeling like my knee is starting to lock up. We don't want that, so I'm reminding myself to just micro bend my knee there. I usually catch people in class doing this, but in reality, the micro bend is so small, only they would know if they're locking it. Okay, one more, and then we move on. We're going to do the standing figure 4 stretch. I'm going to borrow the piano for the standing figure 4. So I'm standing on, let's start with left foot, cross the right ankle over, press the right ankle into the left thigh. This time you're going to stick your butt out as much as you can as you bend that right knee and come down until you feel a stretch and push out of it with the right foot into your thigh. This catches glute and also central and lateral hamstring. All three. And I'm feeling as I come up a little bit of TFL. And then I'm going to switch legs. So I'm balancing on my right foot, left ankle crosses over, press the ankle into the thigh, blossom your bottom behind you as you come down, bending the right knee, so stick your butt out, and then use that left ankle to press you back up, because we want to fire these glutes as much as possible, just to maximize the amount of resistance that we're giving, right? And also kind of take a load off that right leg from squatting. Okay, that feels marvelous, I have to say. All right, and then we're going to come back down to the mat. I think we're going to do 3 more stretches. Probably not much upper body, but try to add in more upper body in the next video. So we're going to do a TFL stretch. We did the standing figure 4s and the groin, so you should feel fairly open here. I like to lean back. The way I'm doing it here is not the traditional way, but it's easier for most people to get into the stretch doing it this way. So I'm going to take my hands behind me, bend my right knee. I am going to let my right knee fall out to the side, and then try to push my left knee down toward the right foot. That's it. Little TFL stretch. You could do this laying down as well. Play around with where your foot is. If your foot, I find for me, if my foot's in close to me, it's easier. Some people find it harder. I find that if I take my foot away, it's much harder for me to get my knee down. But I can already see a difference in where I started and where I am now. But be patient with this one. It takes a long time to get range of motion here for some people. Some people are really good at it. And then we'll switch sides. So, I've got my left knee up. I'm crossing my right ankle over, about a 90-degree bend in the knee. And then take it over, press the knee down toward the foot. Oh dear, and back up again. As you can see, I'm super tight. And I'm not getting very far here, but as we go, I'm trying to actively push it down. As we go, I'll get closer and closer. At least I hope. This is usually my tight side for TFL. And then we're going to end with a quad stretch. So we've got 3 quad stretches, although we already kind of did one at the beginning of the video. We have the supine quad stretch on the back with the foot out to the side, cross it over, press the ankle into the thigh, thigh presses out, so imagine your foot going out this way and knee going out this way. Rotate in and open, which you also get a little bit of a glute stretch. So there's that one. For those of you who want to stay here, that's fine. Then for those of you who want to go a little bit farther, we will do the quad with the chair, where I've got my knee on the pillow, lots of padding, bolster even. Move far away if you are not very flexible. Bring the right foot out to the side, spin, and flip the foot up or here. Push the foot into the chair to shift forward. Keep pushing into the chair to pull back. By the way, if your hamstring tightens up with this stretch, you've got to go back and stretch your hamstrings. Whichever one it is. I think usually it's the central hamstring that tends to get jacked up with this stretch. Downward dog, just kind of doing that stretch back and forth for a bit usually does it. So you can stay here and keep doing this, do the other leg, or the train is going to just keep going. You can get off on whatever station you would like. I'm going to use my chair for balance for this one. If you're really good at balancing, you won't need to do that. And I'm going to kneel, and I'm going to hold. I'm going to flip my hand up, grab my foot, push the foot into the hand. This is the one where probably the hamstring is going to lock up, if any. Push the foot into the hand, shift forward. I'm trying to keep my belly in as much as I can and shift back. So as you can see, my foot is pushing out, I'm pulling it in. Woo! That's a good stretch. I haven't done this one for a while. This is the most advanced version. But as I said, all 3 of those quad stretches will do. All right. And that's probably about as much stretching as most of you want to do for today. Let me know if you'd like shorter videos than the ones I've been doing lately. I could probably put together some 10-minute ones. But overall, this is a pretty good, lower body, limber up video. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, share, subscribe, and leave any comments that you have in the comment section. And I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.